Uh, yep, good to
Okay,
go.
very good. Thank you so much for dropping in. We'll get started. Hello, I am Deb Coviello, the Drop-In CEO, and I am so pleased you've joined us for another episode where week after week I speak to the most amazing leaders who share their insights with you. And just know we provide this resource for you because we want to help the C-suite leaders navigate their challenges with confidence. And today I am honored to share the mic with my guest, Erik Visser, who is the CEO of Hamlet Protein, a leading provider of soy-based specialty proteins used in young animal feed, aimed at helping farmers improve animal health and increase protein output. He is also very entrepreneurial in spirit. He has led international teams. He is very keen on helping to improve the performance of leaders. He is a turnaround person and is focused so much on building value for both his company and those of his customers. Erik, I'd love to welcome you to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So it is my honor to my guest that I have him on the show. I am continually reaching out to CEOs from many different industries, but of course, I also come from the flavor and food industry, and I find it such a dynamic and interesting community. And so when I had my conversation with him, I said, "Oh, he has so much more to provide, not just what he does through people, through his customers, but also the insights that he can provide to you." So, Erik, it is my pleasure to ask for you to share a bit about yourself personally and professionally.
We only got a half an hour, right?
Listen, this is your platform. You can share whatever you want. I will go wherever the conversation is. But yes, please just share a bit because I want my listeners to get to know Erik.
Well, I think I'm Dutch. I live with my family in Amsterdam, but I work all over the world. Actually, in my career, I only worked for 2 years in the Netherlands, but been with companies all throughout Europe and in Latin America, and then of course through branch offices pretty much all around the globe. And you know, like for most people, I think my career is a combination of deliberate choices and coincidences. And I think what stands out for me is my commitment to the organizations that I've been fortunate enough to lead. And I think when you go in, you need to go all in, and that's in your commitment to the company and the commitment to the people. And it's only through leading the people that you can actually pursue and be successful in achieving your goals.
So one of the things you said was in your career moved in and out via choices and coincidences. Let's go into the coincidences. What was not by choice that you just happened to be in a particular role?
Well, I think, when you graduate and you're going for your first job, many times the first job is a stepping stone or whatever follows in your career. When I started to apply for jobs, the job market was not particularly good. So I was intent on starting my career outside the Netherlands. So my first two letters were sent to two complete different companies, but they were the only two companies in my country that would hire you and send you abroad right away, and I got hired by one or two of them. The other company went bankrupt, was active in a complete different industry. So my industry experience and my career started in distribution, but could have very well started somewhere else. So that's what I mean. So this is a coincidence. And then when you build on that experience and you move from one company to another, that is where deliberate choices come in.
So, one of the thoughts that runs through my mind is we do have to take risks. Sometimes we have to go outside of our comfort zone. So I find leaders sometimes will get frustrated if they look within the ecosystem or boundaries that they've established. For you, you said the world is my opportunity with the intention of, I want to move out of this country or I want to be here. But the Netherlands is lovely. I've been in and out of your country so many times. What was it about, wanting to leave and go someplace else? Just curious about that.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you enjoyed spending time in Holland. It is a lovely place. I'm always happy to be here. But it was not as much about leaving something that I didn't like it. It was about considering that the world was so much bigger than what I was accustomed to in the Netherlands. It's about broadening my horizon and also daring to take a plunge in something different language, different culture, different environment. That is what I was really after. So it's the adventure and the next and the step to go and develop myself. While there was not a lot holding me back at the same time, it is at the start of your career, you don't have a mortgage, a car, a family yet. So there's a lot of opportunities without high risk to step out that comfort zone that you're a part of and move into something completely new.
So I'm going to stay here just a little bit longer. It's not often that when we're speaking to a C-suite leader, we go back to your beginnings. It's usually what you've accomplished in the last 15 or 20 years. But you took the decision to live someplace else to explore and expand. Was it everything that you expected, or what was that first experience like? Because again, taking a risk, doing something different is really important for people to think about.
Yeah, but I think the decision that I made have helped me form very strong, solid foundations in my career and taught me life lessons that have accompanied me all throughout my career and have helped me whenever moving from one job or one organization to another. I think it brought me everything and more, but it was also not easy. When you're in a different country where you don't know anyone, you don't speak the language, you start in your first job, you grow a thick skin, you need to adjust to changing circumstances. Everything is different than from what you grew up with. So it really helps you develop as a professional. In my first job, we were not allowed to go on leave back home for the first year because the company wanted to see, can you survive the first year? Because that's really needed for you to be able to thrive. I think it's been an incredible journey for me to deal with unexpected changes, circumstances, different outlook, different viewpoints, and that still, as of today, I build on those life lessons I learned there. But I tell you, that first year was at times scary, tough, felt very lonely, difficult, but I'm really glad I stuck it out.
So that resonates with me myself as well. Now, I have always wanted to live abroad, but I've had the good fortune with some of the companies that I've worked with to travel extensively, especially within Europe, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Ireland, etc. It is wonderful to be with the people and experience business and their life, etc. And my children also, all three of my children have had the opportunity to live abroad. My eldest son is still currently in Zurich, Switzerland, understanding the culture, learning the language. My middle son, Germany. My daughter spent a semester in Florence, Italy. And they do have different perspectives. They appreciate the mother country where we've come from, but they also appreciate the lifestyles, the differences, the positives that maybe we don't enjoy. So I encourage everybody, if given an opportunity to live someplace else, please take advantage of that. But for you, so now, seasoned professional, when it comes to now that you have that international experience, what are some either the challenges, or let me maybe I could ask it a different way. What are some of the themes that you see when it comes to leading people from an international perspective? Like, what advice would you give others that you've learned along the way in order to have cohesive, high-performing teams?
Yeah, never assume that your perspective is the right one, because it
Mm.
might be the right one in a certain cultural environment, but it may be completely different. Markets, people respond differently to product propositions. They respond differently to different style of leadership. So everyone grows up in a certain environment, and it would be wrong to then venture out in the world and think that your cultural environment is the benchmark. So, an open mind to be able to engage with people in different cultures, and that could also be a different organizational country culture within the same country, right? Very much so. But the broadening of the mind, and for me also was, I come from an environment here in Europe where everything is neatly arranged. People commit to their appointments, they're on time, and think always pretty much pan out as people plan to. And in many places around the world, that doesn't work like that. So you can either become frustrated or you learn to adapt to that. And then my experience of having lived abroad for such a long time and worked abroad in different countries helps me to better understand different perspectives and help treat people in a way perhaps they are more accustomed to in their own culture and environment without taking away from setting and pursuing your goals. But it's how you can drive people in a globalized environment to kind of pursue and try to achieve those goals that are needed for you to be successful as a company.
I think you bring up a very important point, and I learned this quickly when I, as a leader, took various personality tests. And I, at the core of who I am very like A or red, very results oriented, followed by data. So precision, accuracy, credibility, very important to me. And sometimes that would be very successful early in my career. And later, as to your point, if you don't take time to understand the people, that can be confrontational. So the interesting thing was I became like a chameleon. I would change for my environment. Like you said, I still had some goals, but I became more consensus building. And in that process, I asked more people their questions. What's their perspective? Do they agree? Do they not agree? Engaging people in conversation, I found was a great way to get everybody to agree. And then I say, let's go. Let's take the next action. So I'm not sure what has worked well with you. Again, having an open mind, is there a situation where you had to work with such a team? You knew you wanted to work in one way, but you had to change what you did in order to still achieve the outcome. What's an example of how you were able to succeed through those differences?
Yeah, first of all, I think many people in a leadership position have that. And when you look at this profile, that red element in the way they're geared. But and having that desire to win or be successful or to be on top of the food chain does not necessarily always mean that you have to be a directive leader. It can also be that you gather the people around you and have more like you have allow people to participate in the direction of the company. I think to a certain extent that might come with age when we looked at our egos in a different way, but it also comes with the mindset that we have. And there's certain areas when I lived in Latin America, they were very much used to very, very much authorians. Is it my language?
I think it's authoritative.
Authoritative
Yeah,
leadership style,
yeah.
right? Which does not is not necessarily the one that fits with the European environment. But all across the world in different countries, people are waiting for you at some point in the process to say yes or no. In Europe, people want to feel that they have had the opportunity to also share their opinion and be very clear about where we go, and it's a joint decision, even if it's your responsibility as a CEO. When you go to China, I was in China last week. There's a problem there, and then the entire room looks to you and wants your decision. And when you say we're going to go left, then everyone goes left. In Europe, when you say we go left, it might be 2 days later, someone comes to you and says, you said left, Erik, but I'm not 100% sure. Shouldn't we go right? So that is that is a complete opposite way of how people respond to leadership or what they feel comfortable with in reaching their targets. And I've learned that if you spend time with the Asian or the Latin American cultures and you allow them to be more part of it, they love it. But you need to invest and take time and have patience because initially people will not speak up during meetings. They are not going to say exactly what they think. And if you miss those clues, you might miss half the story. I've had a board meeting where we had an Asian manager presenting and I knew he was not telling the full story. So I put the meeting on hold and I called him outside. I said, "What's going on here? This is not the full story." He said, "Yeah, but if I tell the full story, there's one or two people in the meeting that might get upset." I said, "Okay, but if you don't tell the story, no one will ever know why things are going wrong and we'll never be able to fix it. And I said, yeah, that's right. I said, while you're now in Europe and you only have 2 days to be part of this meeting, for which you traveled halfway around the world, try to present your ideas and thoughts as if you were European yourself. I think it took a couple of years for us to get there. And then we saw people from our teams also adjust to the other cultural environment where they had to present their ideas, their budgets, and their projects. But flagging those differences, and especially to the ones that have not been exposed to a global environment, is critically important to make sure that people understand each other.
Oh, Eric, I could share so many stories, but I so agree with you. If people don't invest time to get to know each other, just not on a personal level, get to know them outside of work, their passions, what they love to do, what they don't like to do, their past, maybe they were already a president of a company, but maybe they come as a subject matter expert. When we don't take the time to get to know what are those unique qualities about the people and build those relationships, I know firsthand. I have come to meetings, I am the project manager, the leader, and we try to get results, and it takes so much longer. I will share one experience again out of respect for, the Germanic cultures. If you don't take time, to your point, you say they like things organized, neat, on time, structure, it works. From a different culture, one could say inflexible. We said this is our new proposal, and they say yes, and then maybe they do something no. What I found was, from a process perspective, and I understand this, we want to discuss the process. We want to discuss the policy and have deep understanding and engage. And I will tell you, in that process, we were able to come up with maybe the solution, a better solution. And then as soon as we said, okay, let's go, then my colleagues on in the Europe execute, but it took the time to understand what were they so good at. They were so, they were so technical in nature, and I celebrate that. And ultimately it allowed us to get to a better place and a sustainable solution versus saying yes. And I've seen in cultures that we say yes and then we leave the meeting and then some doesn't happen exactly as we expect it to. So something we have to do. Yeah. Yeah, so you have some amazing thought leadership that I picked up off of your profile, and I would love to go a little bit deeper here. One of the things that you have on your profile is no is the beginning of yes. And having worked across different countries and cultures, you've learned to constantly adapt. But I am curious about no is the beginning of yes. Tell me more about that.
So often you go somewhere and you have an idea, plan, or an ambition, and people will try to tell you it's impossible. It's impossible because of regulation, or it's impossible to raise the funds, or it is impossible to get people to line, whatever. There's small no's for easy problems and big no's for big problems. But for me is when there is a no that's stopping my ambition on a personal or on a corporate level, that's where the fun starts. So how do you get from the no to the yes? And always there's more possible than people imagine, and people are capable of much more than they give themselves credit for. So it's you know there's so many situations where your warehouse is half empty, the truck is stuck somewhere, and you need to make sure that your customer has product on time. So how are you going to fix that? That's a very operational issue. And there's other bigger ones. The permit is not coming along, or the government is not willing to cooperate within your timelines. Who are you going to speak to? So it's about not giving up on the first no. And I think people that succeed in their projects, in their leadership, they come across many setbacks. Is it an operational no on a project? Is it someone that's not willing to join, or someone is no longer to work with you? And if we then go and understand what's behind that no, many of these no's we can move into a yes. And I'm not saying a no because it's not legally allowed, but it's a no because people say impossible. This cannot be done. It has never been done before. And that is, I think, an opportunity for people and for leaders to show what they're made of and to truly stick out.
I so agree with that because one of my clients is a small company but has to leverage the supply chain of a larger company. When we wanted to execute on stop shipment on a particular item, the larger entity that we had to depend on, the contract manufacturer said, that's not possible because of this, this, and this. And other leaders, like you say, could be shut down. But I said it's more about asking questions, being curious. What are the constraints? What are the challenges? Let's talk about it. And I think we're now at a place where we may be able to execute, but it took deep conversation to understand why. Why does that exist? And there may be good reasons, but there's always, almost always, a workaround and risks. But again, I love what you say about moving from no to yes. It's about the leadership and seeking to
Yeah,
understand people.
exactly. And you know, and having grown up professionally in Latin America, there was many no's or things that were unstructured that you needed to work with in order to get to your yes. And then when I then moved back to Europe, and you meet with people that have been brought up in the traineeships in the corporate environment, you see there is a lack of flexibility to adjust the mindset or the thinking to be able to circumvent a problem that can perhaps be solved, but has people stopping in their tracks because they heard a no and they think, okay, a no is a hard no. Almost never a no is a hard no.
Mm, really, really great insight. And that's the reason why I wanted to bring you on the show because, again, a successful CEO, but you as a leader have to be able to share these insights. And there's so many I want to go into. This next one I'm very curious about. I've never heard this one before. You talk about think before you jump and then jump. And there are different philosophies. People sometimes just run into the fire. They don't think. Sometimes they think and they don't jump because they want to avoid risk. But tell me more about your thoughts about think before you jump and then jump.
Yeah, so I think there's always a combination of intellectual capacity to analyze an issue or a challenge or whatever you call it, and there is your gut feel, you know, and you don't run into a room or a problem completely unprepared. You need a certain level of preparation, and of course, the more experience you get, the more you have the benefit of building on past experience that will help you prepare for the next one. Um, and for me, it's about a balance. So you need to have a certain level of reflection, but you also need to go into decision-making mode. I tell my people, I'd rather have you making 10 decisions and six, seven of them work out and the other three are 4 hour failure than instead analyzing things to that, never moving, never daring to jump. You know, running a company or building a business, it's all about risk taking. And we need to avoid that we create a generation of people that want to eliminate risk altogether. That's impossible. It's just totally, totally impossible. There's always an inherent risk in whatever decision you take. And you need to be comfortable with that. You also need to be comfortable that some of these things won't work out. But if you add them up and you make decisions, and some good ones and some poor ones, obviously you want the good ones to be in the majority, but that's the only way you're going to get traction. It's the only way you're going to get movement. So I encourage my people, make that decision. Don't look for more than 100% of certainty. You're never going to get that. You're never going to get that. So there's also a gut feel that you need to dare to trust. So when you jump and you don't have 100% of the insights, but you need to jump. You need to jump faster because then you get a competitive advantage. You need to jump to places others haven't been, and then you figure it out along the way. And you can still steer and adjust. But if you never jump, you get stuck in the same place. And people and organizations that get stuck in the same place, they don't grow. And in the end, it's all about growth.
I love that. And that's probably one of the best insights I've heard lately. And it's validation for myself. I mean, I took a leap. I left my corporate job. I started a business. And even now I'm evolving and changing. I'm starting a media entity. I just know it's the right thing to do based on what I've been doing and what I love to do. I'm all in. It's a little scary, but the my gut is telling me go. And smart people and people are showing up for me along the way and giving me that steady, gentle guidance on what to do in order to get there. So it's very uncomfortable, but I'll tell you, I love every step of the way.
Well,
And
I congratulate you for doing that because many people get stuck in their comfort zone that they're afraid to make a next move. And sometimes we need to go with our gut. I've made choices in my career where perhaps if I would have stayed in a certain place, the money would have been good and easy. There would be zero risk, and I would just like float along. But I knew deep down that wouldn't make me happy. So. I think that's I think also to your audience, listen to that God, listen to the little voice in you, and don't get stuck in that same secure environment and then holding yourself back to kind of pursue what you're really passionate about.
so we could go on and on, but I mean, this is about you, and I want to make sure I continue to have you share your insights. But I think you have something that's related, but I have never heard this expression. So I would really appreciate if you could just explain it to me more. You also share as part of your insights and complexity and challenges. It sounds like you love challenges. It's rather the head of the mouse than the lion's tail. I've never heard that. Tell me more.
Well, the thing is, many professionals want to make a career in a corporate environment. Uh, and I believe that's not necessarily the best choice for everyone. I've worked in blue chip companies, I've worked in mid-sized companies, and both come with specific demands and opportunities for success. But I rather be important in a small environment than being two, three, four levels down in a large corporate environment. I want to make an impact. I want to make a decision today, start implementing it today, and see the effect of it. And I think that people sometimes only talk about the larger corporations in the world as a validation of their professional recognition. I don't believe in it. There's a ton of companies around there that are operating at a lower revenue or EBITDA level that provide extremely good platforms for personal and professional growth. So for me, it's like I want to be the one in the room that can, pull the levers, switch buttons, and make decisions and put things into motion. And I've been in larger blue chip that we are like 8, 10 people around an executive committee, and we talked all day. And at the end, nothing was happening. And on paper, I had this stellar job, brilliant. But I rather have an end responsibility in a smaller organization where I'm the head of the mouse rather than being part of a larger animal that I have difficulty making move in a direction where a difference can be made. So I think, that is something and it's different for everyone. But I think if you want to evolve and grow in your leadership, then eventually you need to break out and come into a position where you also take the responsibility and the accountability of something from front to end. There's no hiding. When you're the CEO or general manager of an entity, then it's on you. Success is on you, but the failure is also on you, and you need to be able to carry that weight. But for me, I'd rather be the head of a mouse, so I'd rather be in charge of a small organization than be one of the many different elements in a blue chip company where I cannot imprint my DNA, my thoughts, and my leadership to move the organization in a certain direction.
Mm, you are singing to my heart. I too have experienced the great opportunities larger companies have afforded me from training, moving up in an organization, travel, learning about new cultures. But I too, my heart is with the small and medium-sized companies. So hence why I do reach out to people like yourself that, yes, I know the people at the larger companies, but understanding the heart and the ability to move organizations, move their customers, move their people is some of the greatest reward. And it's also about leaving your legacy. So I so appreciate us having this conversation. Just one more question before we bring this to a close. Again, you have now this senior leader experience. You're the CEO of this company, but what are now any challenges that you have that you're still trying to grow and resolve? Any trends, customers, industry, people? What keeps you up at night? What still challenges you?
I think um, in a globalized environment, and our company does business all around the world. there's always certain things, there's certain directions that the business moves in. And on a good day, they all go in the same positive direction, but that's never the case. I think our current environment is what is most demanding is the sustainability shift. We are providing feed to create an opportunity to grow animals in a sustainable manner to provide food for a large world population. But we see a lot of demands. They come from the political arena. They come from the consumers. That comes with regulation. So we consistently need to adapt. I think it's a huge challenge because it seems that we're in an environment where the goalposts are being moved around while we're in the middle of the game. So that creates a high demand on me and on the organization to be able to adjust to that. And I think the changes go very fast, and there's regulation coming on European level, there's on national level, there is organizational, external governance body level. So there's so much going on at the same time that goes incredibly fast, and we need to rebalance and find our way into that industry, be compliant on the one hand, be efficient on the other hand, and balance out what we can do and what our message is to our customers. And as these rules change, you see also the business move around the world. And that means opening up new hubs and perhaps slowing down some others. So there's a lot going on, and at the same time, we need to find the people to get that going. There's a shortage of qualified people to help steer your business. And I think many companies deal with that. So, and that's not just about the money. It's about, creating an environment where people feel they can contribute something that they're proud of, that they want to be part of. So the recruiting and retaining of people is a huge challenge in our industry because everyone is looking for the same profile person. How do you go about that people are saying, this is a company organization that I want to be part of? On the one hand, it's personal leadership because people commit to you, but it's also about where you stand in that transition in the industry and what kind of opportunities you can offer to the people that will join your organization. And we can talk for an hour or more just about the challenges. We're constantly moving, we're constantly growing, and I think, and on a personal level, I travel a lot around the world, and I feel blessed that I have the opportunity to learn from the people I deal with. And these learnings are not necessarily in the boardroom only, Go around, go where the business is being done, where your product is consumed, where your people work, and listen to them, and there's nuggets of gold to be found everywhere.
So your passion is coming through the screen here. I can definitely feel it. And, one of the things you talked about was the challenges with getting the right talent. But I think just you and I having this conversation today, people will be able to hear you and see you on the YouTube channel, and there may have several opportunities. But because you care and you show who you are as a leader and the kind of organization you lead, I'm hoping you will have talent come to you and say, what can I do for you? So that's the potential opportunity with having these great conversations. Erik, it has been a fabulous opportunity to interview you, and I just give you the floor one last time before we close the show.
No, I really enjoyed talking to you, Deb, and it's, having these conversations always make you reflect because you ask questions and then sometimes, makes me think as well. I think we need to be conscious of the fact that it is never done. The work is perhaps never done, but we as people have always rooms where we can grow. And would be the greatest mistake to think that whatever you do or whatever your strategic intended direction is the only one. So don't get stuck into a certain direction or a way just because you're so convinced that your way is the only way. Listen around to the people that you work with. And we're moving around from leaders that tell people what to do to an environment where we co-create. And I think, and if you have an open mindset to that, it continues to be a lot of fun to work with teams all around the world.
Erik, it has been such a pleasure to get to know you, to share your conversation with our audience. And I just want to say thank you so much, and I wish you well and continued success.
Thank you for having me.